That was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? getting that to loop. Oh, let's have some fun and rock for a few minutes. I think I'm getting used to this one. All right, today's live stream is going to be very slapdash. I don't know if you've heard, I'm heading off shortly to go and meet Millie Formby, Wing Threads, to help her do what she's doing, which is flying a microlight around the country. So I'm going up very shortly to meet her in. I think the plan is now I'm going to meet Millie in Brisbane at we're going to go to a protest about Toondah Harbour, which we'll talk about in a minute, which is occurring on the 14th of May, a walk for Toondah Harbour down in the Redlands Shire. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then I just want to talk about a few things that I've seen in the news. And I've got them on so many different platforms that it might be a bit difficult to share them all, but let's see how we go. What's the other news? I'll let that happen. I'll tell that when my new favourite streaming track, which is inventively called Rock, finishes. Hello, Naomi. I'm hoping Murray's here, because Murray sent me some things too to talk about. Since it's the pinch and a punch, first day of the month, you get to tell me. Sorry, I'm looking up on my board too, just trying to look at what's coming up and what I can tell you about before I head off. Next Monday in this time slot, Holly will be here. Tell me if the music's too loud too, because it's fine in my ears. Just want to know how it sounded for you. Oh, it's still going. I thought that was going to be the end of the rock. It is the end of the rock. Oh. This is a very good outro, isn't it, for the rock? Quite long. Oh, I suppose I better get something ready to share. Here we are. All right, it's finished. That's good. Okay. Share the tab audio. Okay, there's no tab audio. How are you? All right, comments already. Thanks, Naomi. Hi, Stormy. I think you're here, although it's not showing up on my viewing thing. Stormy sent me something. He went to an information session on how to be an activist, how to get some action happening. But the first thing I want to share today is something that was just a couple of days ago popped into the conversation. Conversation's a great place to find articles that you won't see pretty much anywhere else. And the title obviously got my attention. Dozens of woodland bird species are threatened, and we still don't know what works best to bring them back. Martine Marin, one of the authors of this article, along with Jessica Walsh from Monash Uni. She's a lecturer in conservation science, and Michelle Gibson, a research fellow at University of Melbourne, bird ecology and fire science. Now, that's good, isn't it? Bird ecology and fire science. Let's just have a look at what the statement is. Dr. Jessica Walsh has received funding from the Australian Government National Environmental Science Program, Threatened Species Recovery Hub, and BirdLife Australia. And Martine Marin has received funding from various sources, including the Australian Research Council, Queensland Department of Environmental Science, Bush Heritage Australia, and the Australian Government's National Environment Science Program. Member of the Wentworth Group, President of BirdLife Australia, Councillor with the Biodiversity Council, and a member of the board of the Australian Wildlife Conservancy, and a governor of WWF Australia. I wonder what she does in her spare time, hey? We might talk about the Biodiversity Council too. I've had that pulled up too. All right. Oh, good on you, Stormy. Do you want to jump in and give us a rundown of what was happening yesterday? That might be easier than me trying to read about something. Yeah, Martine Marin is really, really, really cool. Stormy, where are you? You're on YouTube. Let me pop this into the YouTube chat. If you want to jump in, I've just posted that link in, and you can jump in and you can tell us about what you were at yesterday, a BirdLife event in Sydney. So we can talk about that. But threatened species list, here we are. Let's go to this tab while we're at it. I did want to get the pink cockatoo in, of course. Now, I don't know if any of you saw this article when it popped up in The Guardian, and then some of the responses on Twitter, which I thought were interesting. I completely understand why Sean has taken as positive approach as he can. Um, let's just have a look at this paragraph. You wouldn't think there would be much to celebrate when a threatened species has its status uplifted, because the risk of it becoming extinct has increased. To have 9 Australian birds uplisted on a single day, as happened last week, may at first seem very bleak indeed. The listings have not come out of the blue, sparked by a single catastrophic event. The 9 upliftings followed the recommendations of the 2020 Action Plan for Australian Birds, produced by BirdLife Australia and Charles Darwin University, drawing on the expertise of hundreds of researchers, and that's what I'm always mentioning. None of these, I mean, nobody is the rock star in all these conservation efforts. It's so many people involved. But let's pick that up again. Drawing on the expertise of hundreds of researchers who have studied and catalogued both the threats facing the birds and the actions needed to recover those teetering on the edge of extinction. Okay, that all sounds good. There will be more birds added to the threatened species list as the Federal Environment Department plays catch up after years of delays, but a listing should not be seen as a tragic consequence. Okay, so far I totally agree with everything he's been saying. It's a line in the sand, a moment of hope. I don't know if I would say it's a moment of hope. I think it's a moment of recognition that we have reached a turning point in the fortunes of a threatened species. Yeah, they say the first step to recovery is to recognise you have a problem. However, unlike the institution that made the phrase famous, anonymity is the last thing that threatened species need. Extinction is often a quiet process happening out of sight. Very few people would be aware of the painted button quail that lives on the Hootman Albrahos Islands, Abrolhos. I've been saying that since I was a kid. Abrolhos Islands, from the offshore from the Western Australian town of Geraldton. You would be unaware unless you were already listening to the Bird Emergency, because we've already done a show on exactly that work. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. I'm just wanting to get to the point. Okay, red goshawk. Coxon's fig parrot. The pink cockatoo. Tree hollows. Okay. The southeastern hooded robin, the southern whiteface, southeastern brown tree creeper, diamond firetail, blue-winged parrot. Look at this, extinction debt. Okay. Red goshawk. Since the year that our current National Threatened Species Act, 1999, 3 million hectares of potential woodland habitat within the former range of the red goshawk have been destroyed, mostly in Queensland. The red goshawk is now extinct in New South Wales and in Queensland is almost entirely absent anywhere south of Cape York. Yet the clearing continues not only for pastoral and mining purposes, but now for the renewable energy projects such as the Upper Burdekin wind farm, which we've talked about before. Oh boy. The hope that arises from a threatened species listing is that protection and recovery follow. This will only occur if we have strong, effective and well-resourced nature laws supporting this. The Federal Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek, has pledged no more extinctions in Australia. While we await her government's response to the Samuel review, while we know there will be many more birds added to the list, we hope that we will see many come off it. I don't know. That's the reason I can't really get on board with the tone of what Sean's saying, even though I don't really disagree with anything he's saying. But I think the tone, it's not a tone I would have taken, because I haven't seen anything that Naomi, you're right on the money for me. Yeah, bloody prove it. I haven't seen anything from this government so far, and I'm hoping I'm going to be proven wrong, but I haven't seen anything which indicates that they are actually committed to it. So let me get back to this article with. So we're looking at superb parrot, swift parrot that we already know. What I did like about this article is that there are plenty of efforts being made. This is well known. There are people out there developing nest boxes, hanging them up everywhere, installing those artificial hollows all over the country. Not only for birds, but for bats and for mammals. So this research that this article is about is focusing on, well, it's not research, it's a systematic review, beg your pardon, of all the published reviews that we could find that tested the effectiveness of 26 conservation actions for woodland bird community. And yet we found little evidence about exactly how effective most of these actions are. Now, you've heard me going on about this for so often. There's often money to do something like, I don't know, hang 500 nest boxes, or plant, as we've got in this photo here, you know, some vegetation in a corridor along a fence line or something. But there's usually no money to follow up the effectiveness, the management, the survival rates, what animals have come in, what are using it. So, and then you'll have things like, well, replanting roadsides, and then still allowing when timber falls, which creates habitat for reptiles, for insects, for other invertebrates, places for fungi to establish, for lichens and mosses. We still allow that timber to be picked up. So a whole part of that ecosystem that could develop and re-establish itself is taken away. So you don't actually get the biodiversity gains that you might have been looking for in the first place. So, yeah, it's an ongoing problem. Now I'm just going to open up a few of those things, because there are some resources that I see some more people have just joined us. I'm just talking about a couple of the articles that I've seen recently that have caught my eye. This is an article about a literature review that Jessica Walsh from Monash University, Professor Mardane Marin from University of Queensland, and Michelle Gibson from University of Melbourne have undertaken about what do we know that works to preserve woodland birds in Australia. And of course, I was drawn to the photo of the male superb parrot, which is still one of the most stunning birds out there. Let me get onto. So who's written this one? Now that the article that we're looking at here is from, what is it, the 26th of April, so a week ago. Now this one I'm just about to start and show you is from the 12th of April. Again, from the conversation. And if you don't have the conversation bookmarked, I suggest that you do. Naomi's got a question. Let's talk about this. Do I think that roadsides should be cleaned up, even though it's a habitat surely is a great danger to the reptiles and birds that take up residence? Cars are killers. Having lived in a couple of regional and very rural places, in a lot of cases, the roadsides are the last place where there are mature remnant plants, not only trees, but shrubs, orchids, so other lilies, other monocots, grasses. Obviously, there's all the other creatures. I don't think I don't think the fact that they're on a roadside makes it any more dangerous than anywhere else. I mean, anywhere that a bird or a reptile has to cross a road, they're potentially in danger. Most of the traffic on those kind of places where I'm thinking, whether it's regional and rural, are not high speed and they're not frequent. When they're building new roads or upgrading roads, there should certainly be underpasses and things like that, which make them less at risk. But do I think they should be cleaned up? I think we go too far when we talk about the risk of fire. And I'm not saying that fires aren't dangerous to humans, but I think now the metric has shifted quite a lot. People have to, I think, be more fire aware. I think we need to force people to be more fire aware. We need to force people who choose to live in places where fire is significantly a greater risk than where I live now. I think if they're splashing money around, we should be splashing money around to make people's property more fire resilient, rather than removing the risk of fire from broad scale landscapes. So I think we've reached the point where I don't think we should be clearing any of these roadside reserves. I think if people want to collect firewood, well, they can plant some rapidly growing timber on the land that they own, such as certain wattles, certain eucalypts, and they can look after their own firewood needs. I mean, we shouldn't be burning firewood. I think encouraging people to burn firewood now seems to fly in the face of so many of the other climate mitigation, carbon mitigation actions that we're subsidising in other areas. So I think because someone likes to have a potbelly stove in their shed, I don't think that's a good enough reason to bugger up a really significant resource that we have left and a dwindling resource in terms of vegetation and ecological communities. So, does that answer the question? I just think that we're so far pushed to the near the edge of the cliff that some of these things about collecting firewood and it's a pastime, it's a rural way of life. No, it's time to say fuck that, I reckon. Anyway, I might get some different ideas drummed into me while I'm out in the far north and the outback in the next month or so. But I'll be surprised if my attitude shifts terribly much, because even though I'm a townie now, I grew up in the regions and I've lived well and truly in very rural Australia. So I understand it. I know. Look, I used to come, when I used to come to Melbourne, 3 to 4 hour drive into Melbourne, I used to bring a trailer and I used to fill up my the tandem trailer and the back of my Land Rover with red gum. Now, I didn't really think about where that timber came from, but I'd never do it now because I do know. I just think we're. What am I talking about? I'm talking. When was that? 90. So I'm talking 30 years ago, 25 to 30 years ago. I think the knowledge that we have from back then to now, I think we should have moved past those practices. I'm sort of, Naomi, I see your point there. Yeah. Okay, I'll just go back to here. Yeah, I think we can manage roadsides so that they are safer for the vehicles, the occupants of the vehicles, and the wildlife that use them. So I think that's a different issue. There's engineering issues and things like that. So when we're talking about the verge, I think that managing the verge is a different issue than managing the whole reserve. And of course, in some parts of the country, the reserves are quite significant. In some, they're not very significant at all. It depends what the planning, what the regulations were in place when the roads were carved out, when the subdivisions took place. So every locality is going to have a different management plan. Different councils can obviously manage in different ways. There's always going to be that kind of variation, but I think we can say that you shouldn't be grabbing timber. We also shouldn't be thinning dead trees in those kind of locations, and unless they're likely to fall on a car and a passing car and cause significant damage. But trees fall. I mean, that's just, we can't remove risk from every part of our lives. Now, here, what we've got here. I also don't think that we should be encouraging these lots where people like in Melbourne. I mean, I used to buy firewood in Melbourne and take it back to Gippsland because I could buy it cheap here, which was insane. Hello, new person from YouTube. We talk about bird and wildlife conservation in this channel. That's what we do in this channel. Thank you for being my 278th subscriber. Tell us a bit about you. Where are you coming from? We like to get to know each other. here, so that's good. Yeah, I think, Naomi, on your point, I do think that if people want to burn firewood, I don't think I don't think we should outlaw it. So if people do want to grow timber on their own property that they harvest themselves and can burn in their potbelly in the shed, that's fine. But I don't think we should be helping new businesses establish where they hoard timber, where they're selling mallee roots to people in, the Hills district of Sydney or in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, because people like to have a pot belly. I think that a pot belly stove. I think that's crazy. Stormy, yes, I agree. Hopefully that Samuel's review for the Endangered and Biodiversity Protection Act will make a difference, and something will come from that soon. Okay, let me. Okay, you've got a pet bird. That's nice to know. Tell us about your pet bird. We might have a talk about that too. Okay, I'm going to share this new tab. So, look at that. We rely on expert predictions to guide conservation, but even experts have biases and blind spots. And I do like that there's a kookaburra there. That's pretty good, isn't it? Lead author on this, Andrew Bennett, adjunct professor in ecology at La Trobe Uni. Angie Haslam, research fellow, La Trobe University. Jim Thompson, senior scientist, Arthur Ryler, Institute for Environmental Research. Tracy Hollings, associate researcher, associate research scientist, beg your pardon. Ecological modelling from the Arthur Ryler Institute here in Melbourne as well. Let's have a look. We asked 8 experienced ornithologists to predict how bird species respond when farmland is revegetated, a common conservation practice. The result? There was a surprising amount of variation amongst experts. There were consistent biases, such as favouring birds commonly seen on farms, while underestimating small woodland species. Imagine that, underestimating little brown birds. However, when we combined their responses, we got better outcomes. Imagine that, getting more opinions and more results give you better results. But like anything, there's limitations which we should recognise. And here's a really good comment too. We should treat expert knowledge as a guide rather than a source of truth. Hallelujah. How do you put experts to the test? This is an important statement, really, I think. Expert knowledge is commonly used for making decisions in conservation, yet it is seldom tested. We asked our expert ornithologists to predict which bird species would be found at 20 revegetation sites on farms. Ooh, I wish I had have seen this earlier. I would have liked to talk about this in detail. I definitely need to follow this up. 20 re-veg sites on farms in Western Victoria, which were spread across an area of more than 1,400 square kilometres. We gave each expert detailed information about the sites, including a map, the size of the re-veg plot, when it was planted, number of tree species planted, and management at the sites. Our experts then had to make judgments about how likely specific bird species were to be detected there. This was based on a list of more than 100 species for each site, which had been recorded in the surrounding district. Now, all right, what did they find? Across the 8 ornithologists, the average number of species they considered likely to be detected ranged from 15 to 45. but the average recorded from bird surveys was 19. Okay. Were there any similarities in what the experts got wrong? By and large, our experts this is interesting, isn't it? By and large, experts overestimated how likely common farmland species like the galah, eastern rosella, willy wagtail, and magpie lark would be. They also overestimated the likelihood of larger species that can occur in open country with scattered trees, such as the laughing kookaburra and the black-faced cuckoo shrike. Why might this be? These species are very visible and common in farm landscapes, but they also range widely and are hence more likely to occur at a particular site while it's being surveyed. Okay. This is really interesting, actually. Thanks very much, NY24TJ. That's very nice if you are sharing the knowledge. So what? I'm just trying to see what the main point is. When we combined the expertise of our 8 ornithologists, we saw less variability. When grouped, our experts performed much better than a random selection of bird species. Even so, their predictions still differed strongly from those actually observed. Why does this matter? The loss of woodland birds in farmland areas of southern Australia is a major conservation concern. Revegetation helps restore wooded habitats for such species. These biases could lead to conservation managers discounting the benefits of revegetation for conservation. The task we gave the experts was not easy. To make reliable predictions is complex. For each species, they had to make multiple judgments. How common is the species in the region? Was the revegetated area likely to provide suitable habitat? How might this species be influenced by the age of the planting and the diversity of tree species? Would it be a resident species or a visitor, regular or irregular? Some of the variations we found is likely due to the differing levels of familiarity with the birds in Western Victoria. Yeah, that's always the case. You've got to know your patch. Our experts had different levels of expertise carrying out bird surveys and studying birds in revegetated habitats. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair thing. What does this mean for our reliance on expertise? Expert knowledge may be the best or only source of information for decision making when we need to rely on predictions, where knowledge has to be applied in novel circumstances or where management involves complex interacting factors. So how can we improve the accuracy and reliability of expert predictions given we all have biases and gaps in our knowledge? I have lots of gaps in my knowledge. Carefully selecting experts based on relevant experience, using a structured protocol to draw out information and combining knowledge from multiple experts can help. Where possible, we should seize the opportunity to test expert predictions and identify potential biases. At present, this kind of testing is rare. Good conservation management benefits from the wealth of knowledge held by experts, but also depends on evidence from well-designed empirical studies. Now, expert predictions are only as good as the data and the experience on which their judgments are based. So I guess what I draw from that is, I often talk about how the data in eBird and Bird Data and iNaturalist and other databases can help add to the knowledge of people who are pulling down that data. But something that we always need to understand. And I think I talked about it the other day when I was talking to Carly Campbell, was about the methodology. Everybody watches birds differently. Everybody treats a record differently. You know, some people don't use, will use a bird call without seeing the bird. Some people say they have to see the bird. Some people won't record it if they haven't taken a photo. Maybe we should develop some protocol, some standard method for adding into public databases. I don't really know. That'd be something I'd like to talk about more. So yeah, that one I thought was interesting, and then this one, April 6th. So this is a bit earlier, and this is from Andrew Bennett, Angie Haslam, Greg Holland, La Trobe Uni. So those three all from La Trobe Uni. Jim Radford, Principal Research Fellow, Research Centre for Future Landscapes, La Trobe Uni. And then Rowan Clark, Director of Monash Drone Discovery Platform and Senior Lecturer in Ecology, Melbourne, Monash University. So, again, new research shows planting trees and shrubs brings woodland birds back to farms, from superb fairy wrens to spotted pardalotes. So again, I wish I had have seen this a bit earlier. Yes, that is a beautiful bird. That bird in the photo is the superb fairy wren. That photo was taken by Rowan Clark, by the way. Yeah, it is a stunning bird. That's a male in breeding plumage. I'm just going to skim through. I only found this one today. So the research, I better open the research and have a good look at what it's called. Our research published today shows the efforts to revegetate farmland has made an important difference for woodland birds. We surveyed and compared bird communities in farm landscapes with differing amounts of tree cover. We found that when the amount of revegetation in open farmland increased, the number of bird species did too. For example, an increase in revegetation from 1 to 10% of the landscape. That's interesting, this one. 1 to 10% of the landscape doubled the number of woodland bird species. This is important because populations of woodland birds have been steeply declining in southern Australia, with species such as the southern white-faced brown tree creeper, white-browed babbler now of conservation concern. I'm amazed that the white-browed babbler is now of concern. The collective efforts of landholders can help reverse these declines by attracting species back into otherwise cleared farmland. And that's an interesting pattern of re-veg there. We'll have to talk about that at another time. But that's a good way of how to do the re-veg along a creek. Not just planting, a 3 to 5 to 10 metre strip along the creek. You've got to have refuges away from the creek as well. Restoring habitat for woodland birds. Look closely among native vegetation on farmland. You'll find an array of bird life such as flame robins, superb fairy wrens foraging for insects on the ground, striated pardalotes and yellow thornbills feeding in the canopy. Yet extensive habitat destruction replaced by vast areas of intensive farmland have caused the number of once abundant woodland birds to decline greatly. I might open that one as well. That tells us how much they've declined. Indeed, in many rural districts such as Western and Northern Victoria, more than 90% of native wooded vegetation has been cleared. To help address this issue, the Morrison government last year announced an additional $32.1 million for biodiversity stewardship on agricultural land. A key activity under the stewardship scheme is revegetation. Our research clarifies how revegetation can help in the recovery of woodland birds. How does revegetation benefit birds? Most research on the value of revegetation looks at individual patches. Okay, that is how it generally does. Our approach differed was we sampled entire landscapes. Okay, so each landscape was a 8 square kilometre block spanning 1 to 3 farms in southwestern Victoria. We identified 3 groups of landscape, each having 1 to 18% tree cover. In one group, tree cover was from re-veg. A second group comprised remnant native vegetation. Natural vegetation that remains after the land was otherwise cleared. And a third had a mix of re-veg and remnants. So the questions investigated were, does the number of woodland species increase if the landscape is revegetated? Does revegetation attract new species back into the landscape, or simply provide more habitat for common species already present? That's always an important question. Is the bird community in revegetated landscapes similar to that in remnant landscapes? The answer to the first 2 questions, 1, does the number of woodland species increase if the landscape is revegetated, and 2, does revegetation attract new species back into the landscape or simply provide more habitat for common species already present? So, for those 2 questions, we found the number of bird species in a landscape did increase with increasing wooded cover. In landscapes with only 1% revegetation cover, most birds were open country species such as galah, red-rump parrots, woolly wagtails, with only 11 woodland species on average. On the other hand, landscapes with 15% re-veg cover had 25 woodland species, so more than double as part of the bird community. In response to the third question was, is the bird community in revegetated landscapes similar to that in remnant landscapes? In response to the third question, we found that revegetated landscapes and those with remnant vegetation don't offer the same benefits. There we go. For a given amount of wooded vegetation, revegetated landscapes had fewer species in total and supported different types of woodland species. For example, revegetation favours birds that forage in shrubby areas, such as the New Holland honeyeater and brown thornbill. In contrast, those that depend on older trees were less likely to be found in revegetated landscapes. That includes the white-throated tree creeper, varied Sotella, which forage on tree trunks and large branches, while the spotted pardalite and white-naped honeyeaters that feed within canopy foliage. So that is kind of obvious. Where will revegetation be most effective? Our research shows revegetation has greatest value when it's interspersed among remnant vegetation. These mixed landscapes have similar numbers and types of woodland birds to the remnant landscapes and provide complementary resources for feeding, nesting and refuge. We also found individual patches of revegetation have the greatest value for birds when they include a diverse range of trees and shrubs, are close to or connected with native vegetation, and are older, meaning the plants have had longer to grow. Another valuable feature for birds is scattered trees. These veteran trees act as stepping stones to help the birds move across the landscape, providing foraging and nesting habitat for species such as the brown tree creeper, laughing kookaburra and eastern rosella. I'll get to your thing in a minute, Naomi. We'll just have a look through, get to the end here. working together. The results are encouraging, but there's a long way to go to restore farmland environments. At least 11 of the 60 woodland species recorded in the study weren't detected in revegetated landscapes, such as sacred kingfisher, black-chinned honeyeater. Others, such as Jackie Winter and eastern yellow robin, were rare. That's amazing. The Jackie Winter used to be so common where I lived down in Gippsland. Increasing wooded vegetation to cover at least 10 to 30% of farmland is an important long-term goal to ensure sufficient habitat to sustain healthy populations of many species. Of course, it's not just for woodland birds. Revegetating farms has a number of benefits. Planting along creeks helps stabilise stream banks, improve aquatic environments. Trees store more carbon as they grow and age, and tree lines or shelter belts and shade benefit livestock and farm production. Yes, they do. Okay, so I'm going to drop that out for a minute. Okay, Naomi. I might have to put my glasses on to read that because it's a big block of text. Let me see what you're just telling me. I need to clean my glasses too. It was an interesting thing on Reveg. Was it, Naomi, this thing you saw, was it on Landline? A study being done in Northern Territory. I think they were leaving some areas paddock and others re-veg and others natural. Yes, we are. I'm in Australia, and most of the people at the moment talking to me in the chat are in Australia. My podcast, which is called The Bird Emergency, interviews people from all over the world. Good luck at school. Yeah, you're on. You didn't tell us whereabouts you are. Yeah. Oh, it was in Nature, was it, Naomi? Very good. I did see something, I think, talking in broad scales about, or in broad terms, about how some re-veg is not working. And that, without reading that study, Naomi, but again, I think, you all know that I'm horticulturist by training. I was so interested in agroforestry and re-veg and Colorado Springs. All right, good on you. Yeah. CO Springs, I guess that's Colorado Springs, isn't it? Now, I don't know whether Colorado Springs is actually in Colorado or somewhere else. Maybe you can let us know. But one of the things, and look, didn't we talk about this the other day when there was those cassowary credits or whatever? What did we do that a couple of weeks ago? It depends what the purpose of the revegetation is. Yeah, look forward to it. We're always on this time on a Monday. Monday here, which is Sunday for you if you're in the US, right? We do midday Monday Australian Eastern Standard Time and different times. You can check out thebirdemergency.com/live to find when we're next streaming. And just so you know, I'm about to go on a trip into the outback, up in the rainforest and then across into the outback and up to the tropical far north of Australia. So there'll be a bit of a change. I have ordered Starlink. We are taking Starlink with us. And so hopefully it's not too different, but there will be some changes to the usual timetable. So yeah, anyway, certainly be here next week at midday and probably the week after on midday. Okay, folks. I want to find the link that Naomi sent, not Naomi sent me, that Millie sent me about the protest for Toondah. Where are we? Oh, it's not there, is it? Or is it? Why isn't it there? Bear with me. I thought it was in my list on my computer, but it's only in my phone. Let me just get to it, and I'll put it up. Okay, if you want to follow along, it's at Redlands 2030. So this is the development .net. Redlands2030.net. Here it comes. Toondah. Let me go to Toondah. Why am I not finding this? Tap to load preview. Sorry, everyone. I know this is riveting while I'm checking this. All right, 2020 walk for Toondah. So I better, if I type that in, it might find it. 2023 walk for Toondah. Here we are. Okay, here we go. I can share this now, I think. Oh, no. I messed up. I pressed the wrong button. Share screen. Walk for Toondah. Let's go. Here we go. So there we go. Now, of course, if you... so this is organised by the Australian Conservation Foundation Community Bayside for Brisbane. And it's the 2023 Walk for Toondah. It's Sunday the 14th of May. So this is where the plan is for me and Millie to meet up prior to this so that we can both go. Millie is going to be speaking. Let's see if she's in the... if they've... Oh, they're not promoting it, I don't think. But Millie is speaking, I believe. And I'm going to try and go and interview some people and test out my documentary filmmaking skills. But if you do want to turn up, if you're in Brisbane or you can get to Brisbane, it's May the 14th, which is Sunday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at 146 to 148 Shaw Street, Toondah. Cleveland, which is on the shores of Toondah Harbour. City. You go to Capella Bar and keep driving down to the shore. It's Mother's Day too. There we go. I didn't realise that. The Walk for Toondah is a family-friendly Mother's Day event showing that you care about our koalas, our bay and our planet. People doing the walk will gather at Raby Bay Harbour Park, which is close to the Cleveland train station. And after some music and short speeches, we will walk in procession through the Cleveland CBD, past the Cleveland markets, then return to the Raby Bay Harbour Park. Bleco, the Eastern curlew, the giant Eastern curlew, will again be at the Walk for Toondah. We've heard whispers this year that Bleco may be accompanied... Beco, sorry, why am I calling him Bleco? Beco may be accompanied by some fledgling Eastern curlews, so no doubt some others are dressing up, so that will be great. Last year, more than 2,000 people participated, so that's great. Locals are worried about the loss of irreplaceable habitats for animals like eastern curlews, dugongs and koalas, as well as increased traffic and the impact on community and local businesses. Mudflats, used by the critically endangered migratory shorebirds as feeding grounds, will be destroyed to make way for up to 3,600 apartments. Increased traffic from up to 7,000 apartment occupants will impact on the endangered koalas who are regularly found in the trees around Toondah. And the proposed project shows complete disregard for our country's international obligations under the Ramsar Convention to protect a globally significant website. And of course, we've talked about that many, many times on the show. Yeah, so there we go. Now, what else did I want to tell you? Did anybody see the story about the white willy wagtail? I'm just trying to find my bookmarks. See if I can find the white willy wagtail one. I do think this was interesting. Let's get this one. Share this. Stop it. Stop. There we go. Get it back to the start. Come on. Share this tab. This is a positive thing that I saw that I thought I would share with you about Costa Rica. So, ready, steady, go. So there we go. But of course, do we want the World Economic Forum to be the people leading conservation conversations? I don't know. I'll bear with me. I've been buying stuff to take with me with Millie. I'm just saying when my oh, it's already been sent. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's a good point, Naomi, that it's good that it's being done, but I'm also worried when that didn't actually say that they were conserving anything for the sake of conserving it. It was it added to growing coffee and cocoa and whatnot. So, yeah. Not a good story here. From Michelle Villa, of course, friend of the show. 2 interviews with Michelle. Raptors and vultures hit hard by let's just call it bird flu. Breeding failures of bald eagles, mortalities in European vultures, and recently Californian condors. There's an article here that Michelle has linked to, so I suggest that you follow at Duck Schwaber, DUCKSWABBER. Michelle's always putting information out about the effects of bird flu on birds. Oh, why did that do that? Always does that, doesn't it? This particular article about vultures scavenging on marine mammals in Africa. Not sure whether that is a route for transmission. Just about it. Just about it. There's I think I went through that. Yeah. Gee, I haven't bookmarked much in the last little while, but here's one that I did want to just show. This is from the Royal Society for Protection of Birds in the UK. New analysis shows that bird populations are continuing to go down. 48% of species in decline over the last 5 years. New research on kakapo. So you're getting to see what I bookmark in my when I'm on Twitter. Oh, by the way, Blue Sky is up and about. I haven't got an invite yet. If someone gets an invite code and they're already on Blue Sky, feel free to fling an invite to me. I want to check it out before I decide what's going to happen over the which socials I'm going to religiously do while I'm off with Millie. Cool new kakapo paper in Science Direct. When did kakapo become extinct on mainland Aotearoa and why? Interesting differences between North and South Island due to different pressures, by Jo Carpenter and her team. So that's one I want to review. Oh, I did talk about this. This is from Leo Shire Jewels. Now have a look at this. I'll pop this on full screen. Come on, here we go. Look at that. So they're picking at the bark and then they seem to be rubbing themselves on the bark. Let's look at that again. Okay, we'll bring that down. Now, I love that you can hear the waves at Merimbula in the background. So they're on a bloodwood. Get back to here. What? I don't know why that never used to reset like that. Good on you, Elon. Okay. So the scars on this bloodwood, Leo thinks are from sugar gliders feeding on them, and that the musk lorikeets seem to be picking on the scars. Now, are they getting the sap? I don't know. I've seen something similar, and I noted this when I was speaking to, I think in this thread with Leo. I've seen both rainbows and muskies picking at little droplets where the sugar gums, the Cladocalyx here, Eucalyptus cladocalyx, are exuding sap. So I don't know whether they're feeding on it, or as you put here, Naomi, is it insect repellent? Do they just like it? Maybe if it's a little bit sticky, is it? Does it do something to maybe some kind of pest? I don't know, but that's really, really interesting footage there from Leo. So I really like it. It is interesting the way they're rubbing, it doesn't look like they're eating. They just might like the smell. Who knows? I mean, but it's amazing what you see if you just watch what birds are getting up to. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything that I had. Some more. There's so much more stuff here about here was the story that I did want to talk about too. One of the Hawaiian islands, I think it's Lahua, I think is how you pronounce it, is finally free of rats. So that's one of the breeding locations for the band-rumped storm petrel, which is critically endangered. So that was just good news in a Hawaiian magazine. So scientists are just trying to get the birds to recolonise the islands. So that is fabbo. I'll drop that off now. I might just talk a little bit now about, or just check out the, just checking my notifications. Most of them aren't about me. There we go. So I can stop sharing that now. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, I felt very, very dirty today. I purchased the Starlink equipment. So the Starlink equipment I have purchased, it's on the way to rendezvous with Millie and I on the central coast of Queensland, where we will set it up and we'll have internet with us. So Millie and I I'll be doing regular updates. I'll be doing First Seen and Heard. Excuse me. Each morning, and provided we can organise it, I want to keep doing the midday Monday, possibly with Holly. Holly will be with me next week because I won't have headed off to up north by then. So on the 8th, midday, Holly is back and we'll talk about some of these. I'll try and maybe get follow up on the Re-Veg projects and the reviews that we were just talking about. I'll try and get someone in to talk about that with Holly. And then it looks like I'll go to Brisbane on the 12th. And then I'm hoping to meet up with some former guests on the Bird Emergency. I don't know if I'll be able to coax the huge possum into taking me to his local patch, but I'll reach out to Dr. Nick, also Nicholas Rakatapare, although he's actually somewhere in the wilds of Australia at the moment, so I haven't actually talked to him. We'll catch up. Hopefully, catch up with a few people and go to a few bird watching haunts in suburban Brisbane. And then I think the plan is Millie and I will then drive Brisbane to Rocky. And hopefully I would like it if we can catch up if we can go to the Botanic Gardens in Gladstone. But I have to talk to Millie about what her timetable is, or whether we're flying up from Brisbane up to Rocky. I just don't know. We haven't got to there yet. There'll be a lot more text messages and whatnot just talked about in the next day or two. But that's pretty much the plan. And then I don't know what a normal day is going to look like. So much of what we're going to be doing will be weather dependent. I spent a lot of time checking out what Starlink is supposed to be like, and apparently it's supposed to be good enough to do what we're doing now. I'm told it's going to be good enough to watch lots of YouTube and to watch Netflix or whatever, but I'm really hoping that we can do a first seen and heard every morning, and when we meet interesting people along the way, if we've got time, that I can do a live stream, and I'll be recording plenty of video stuff, hopefully lots of birds that I can chop up into little videos, and we can really put a lot more stuff up on the Bird Emergency YouTube, and live stream when we can to Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, of course. So yeah, we'll just have to be really flexible over the next little while. Ricky's with me again this Friday too at 4:00. So that might be, unless I fly on Friday, there's a possibility I'll be flying on Friday. If so, we might make, I don't know. The tilt train is good if not flying. Naomi, tilt train from where to where? The main thing with the flying is just the cost of doing anything other than flying. It's just scary. I think I whinged about this enough the other day. Brizzy to Rocky. Okay, I will look at that. Actually, while we're doing that, while we're talking, I will look it up now. I thought I saw it was like 4 times. Tilt train. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, that's Brisbane to Rockhampton. Oh, 100. Oh, that's all right. That's that's reasonably cheap. Um, okay. All right. Yes, we'll be having a look at that. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's thanks, Naomi. I will look at that. That's comparable to the uh, very comparable to the cost of flying. I'll talk to Millie about that. How long does it take? Brisbane to Rocky. Oh yeah, it's a day. That's all right. 8 hour trip. Okay. Um, cool. Thanks, Naomi. That's a good option. I wonder why when I was looking just through, not going straight to Tilt Train, but looking for rail travel options, that didn't come up like that. That's really weird. Still, it's often difficult just to travel, just to find what you want. Wild. All right, since it's a Monday, tell us the best bird you saw on the weekend, and then we'll wrap up, and I'll go and I've still got a few more. I want to buy some clamps and some clips, a few extra things, so I can hang a camera in different spots. And I actually want to be able to rig a camera on the roof racks of Millie's vehicles, so that I don't need to take extra tripods to do shots of us talking around the fire or something like that. So yeah, king parrot, Australian king parrot, best get on the weekend. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. What was it doing? Was it at home? Was it off on the? Was in the local park, or did you go somewhere special to find it? Um, Let us know. Let us know. Uh, oh, very good. Varied Satella and the brown cuckoo dove. Oh, good. You've made friends with your brown cuckoo dove. Very good. Varied Satella. That means you've got some nice mature trees at your place or round about your place. Tell us where you saw them, Naomi. Okay. Local park up in Toongabbie. Very good. So, now I've got to try and catch up with Martin today and see if we can go do a bit of looking around at Gladstone. So it's $30 to get from Rockhampton to Gladstone, or Gladstone to Rocky. Okay, that's a very good option. I'm glad you told me that, Naomi. I'll have to do some discussing with Millie about what's what, how quickly she wants to get on the go from Brisbane up to Rocky. Yeah. Okay, so the Satella was using your Angophora. Good. Your Angophora is a big tree. Okay. In the Bleeding Heart vine. Yeah. Very good. I'm a bit envious that you've got the brown cuckoo dove. Or what did it used to be called? I'll have to look that one up. Anyone else have a favourite best bird they saw on the weekend? I saw my Australian hobby again. Okay, I need to get familiar with that common name, don't I? The bleeding heart tree. Let me look that one up. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. Homolanthus populifolius. Yes, there we go. The Queensland poplar. Native Australian rainforest plant in the family Euphorbiaceae. Yes. Of course, it has the milky sap, doesn't it? Does it? Is it irritating? Let me have a look with the. Rainforest Rescue. Let me see. Better check out the Wikipedia page. Regarded as an invasive species in southern Africa, Hawaii, and New Zealand. It's used in re-veg because it's a pioneer species. Okay, it grows from the coastal border of New South Wales and Victoria, north to Cowan. Also, Lord Howe Island, Norfolk Island, Papua New Guinea, and the Solomon Islands. It's the host plant for the Hercules moth. Did not know that, but that's obviously why it's popular in horticulture. Fruit is eaten by a variety of birds, including brown cuckoo dove, silver eye, and Lewin's honeyeater. There we are. That's interesting. And it's not telling me if the sap is an irritant. Anyway, there we go. And there we are. Naomi's telling me berries that attract bowerbirds, lewins, yellow honeyeaters, and red wattlebirds. Yeah, I imagine anything that will eat fruit will eat them. And you can crush the leaves with mud to create a black dye for funeral clothing, just in case you would like to know that. It's on the red list of threatened species. Let me have a look at what it's threatened at, what it's of course it didn't when I clicked on that it didn't tell me what it was coming up as. Least concern. I was going to say. Okay. So it's on the list as least concern. Okay, good. Okay, folks, anything else you want to ask me, tell me before I head off and start getting more prepared for meeting up with Millie. I've got to buy a new waterproof or windproof jacket, and I'm having a lot of trouble finding one that is not unbelievably overpriced. I'm not paying $400 for a bloody jacket. Absolutely no chance whatsoever. So if you got to be lightweight, got to take up very little room when it scrunches down. I want it to be windproof and waterproof in that you can walk or just do stuff in it rather than it absorbing water. So I want water to run off. If you've got a recommendation, if you've got something like that that you are extremely happy with, that would be great. Bought myself a headlamp for our nighttime. Yeah, thanks, Naomi. I did look at the Rainbird, and that will be my last resort if I don't find what I am looking at. There's a really nice lightweight Rainbird one. I did see another one which was a couple of $100. But yeah, I'm going to go and try Vinnie's and another thing down here called Savers. Patagonia, I haven't seen one that fits the bill. They've all been too bulky for what I want. The other thing I might do is just go to one of the marine stores, because the slickers, we used to call them when we were sailing, were kind of what I want. I don't need something that's going to keep me super warm on this trip. I've already got a super warm jacket, but it's bulky and I don't want to take it to the tropics. I want something that is, just basically a windbreaker and will run water off me if we happen to get caught when it's wet. So, yeah. It's been fun. I haven't been in a camping store for years. It was fun. I went to a couple yesterday to see what's what. I managed to find the same kind of swag that I used to have years ago, and it was such a great swag. And I couldn't find one anywhere until when I looked yesterday. Just quick one there, only one available, so I snagged that. Heavy duty canvas, but still half a kilo lighter than just about everything else that I've been able to find, and not one of the ones that looks like a tent. I really liked it because you could be really inconspicuous. It's not bright colours, it's just canvas. You can, if you need to, be a bit incognito, it's easy to do. Yeah. It's 5.5 kilograms is the one that I got, Naomi. But it's a different brand, but it's the same. It's exactly the same. So obviously the brands have been sold and whatnot. But yeah, it was the only one that was available, so I snapped it up. A Dune. Oh, let me have a look. Let me look up Dune. Because it may well be very, very similar. It's got a pole. Yours has got a pole. Yeah, no, mine is different to that. But yeah, they're very similar. But no, mine's sort of square, doesn't have a rounded thing, and has a flap behind the head that you can open up. Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very similar. The best thing about being single is you don't have to worry about getting a double swag. They're too heavy. What else did I buy? So I got my headlamp. I actually bought two, just because redundancy, and they're not very heavy. But this one's got a whole heap of different lights on it, including a red one. What else did I got? So I've ordered another little clamp to hang stuff off. I've ordered my recorder for being able to record more bird sounds better than my phone. So that will be nice. So I should be able to do more a better Dawn Chorus. I haven't set a date for the next Dawn Chorus or the next members show. I'll do that after I know what the when I'm hitting Brisbane, and when we're doing the next leg, and that kind of depends if we can. I mean, if we can catch up with Hugh Possingham, well, that would be worth waiting. Naomi, I'm not exactly sure yet. I'll update you all when I have it together. So that I'm not hitching on this part of the journey. But the heaviest thing is pretty much the equipment that I'm taking, and that's in a road case. Right. So, but for this part of the journey, this stuff will just be basically thrown in the ute. But depending on what happens from what we decide to do once we get to Darwin, whether I go further or whether I don't, well then what my travel options are will be decided then. I mean, that's the good thing about not having a firm day where I need to be back or anything like that. So yeah, well, I know what how I'm going to be travelling up to Darwin, and yeah, we'll just take it from there. If there's, I mean, if I can, I'll try and I really do want to try, if I can, Naomi, when I'm over in that part of the country, since it's so expensive to get there again. Yeah, I certainly, if I can, I want to tag along with Millie from Darwin to Broome, and then, getting from Broome down to Perth and then back to Melbourne is a whole different story. But if I'm creating content and people like it, and maybe if they're joining the membership program, well then, yeah. We'll just wait and see. If I can get all of my equipment in the pack and not take the hard case, well, that's what I'll do. But at the moment, I think it makes sense to have the cameras and things in the hard case so that, it's waterproof. There's a whole lot of things that make it something that I think I will take. But, we'll just wait and see. So yeah, I can see your swag. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's about all I've got. Thanks, Stormy. Yes, next live stream that is scheduled is, well, Ricky on Friday at 4 p.m. Then Holly on Monday, the 8th at midday. And then, if you want to get up really, really, really early to catch the live stream, midnight on the 9th. So that's like 12 hours after talking to Holly. I'm speaking with Claire Neems, who has been has just finished a PhD on how migratory birds around the world are adapting to the changes, not only in the climate, but just in habitats generally, in predator species, pests, clearing, the changing food resources, whole lot of things. So yeah, that's on midnight Australian Eastern Time on the 9th, and then at the moment the schedule is clear because we'll see what exactly when I'm flying to Brizzy, and than going to Toondah and all that. And I really want to interview people at Toondah and things like that. So, yeah. What did you say there, Naomi? Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, we've just cobbled today together, but I did think it was worthwhile talking about some of the things that had popped up in the news feed. I couldn't find the link quickly for the white willy wagtail, but it's not that uncommon. Probably every year, every second year, I see some story about a white willy wagtail. So, leucistic birds are out there. So whether it's all white, they're not albinos, but they're all white, or whether you'll see pied varieties or pied individuals of them. If you see them, try and get a photo. Talk about it. Okay, well, that's it. Good catching up with you all again. We'll see you, if not before. If I've got any news to tell you that's interesting, I will. Otherwise, tomorrow morning I'll be on doing First Seen and Heard. And remember, join in First Seen and Heard. It's always good. Sometimes I don't get your comments or on Facebook until a day or two later. I don't get those notifications, so I'm sorry if I'm late replying to Facebook. Very interesting, since as you know, I always mention the Wurundjeri people in Melbourne. It's amazing, the race, now that the voice referendum has been announced, it's amazing all the racists that come out now on especially on TikTok, so that's interesting. Yeah. All right, that's it. See you later. I really need to make a little outro video, don't I, with some groovy music and some nice graphics. I'll have to get some time and do that. Okay. See you, everyone.